In the pursuit of spiritual awakening, numerous misconceptions often obstruct our path, binding us to the limitations of the third-dimensional reality. These pervasive falsehoods, woven into the fabric of societal norms and personal beliefs, subtly shape our worldview and hinder our spiritual growth. From the illusion of separateness to the fallacy of eternal suffering, these lies perpetuate a cycle of ignorance and stagnation, keeping us from transcending to higher states of consciousness and profound self-realization. Identifying and dispelling these myths is essential to liberate the spirit and embrace the expansive realms of spiritual awakening awaiting our discovery. From a young age, we're conditioned to believe that if something can't be seen, measured, or touched, then it doesn't exist. Society teaches us to put our focus solely on material success, physical objects, and external achievements, reinforcing the idea that the 3D world is all that matters. But this is a limited perspective that keeps you stuck in the lowest dimensions of existence. In reality, the material world is just one layer of a vast, multidimensional universe. Beyond the physical lies the energetic, the quantum, and the spiritual realms where true magic and transformation occur. When you cling to the belief that the physical world is all there is, you cut yourself off from these higher dimensions. The more you focus solely on the material, the more you reinforce the illusion of separation, lack, and limitation. This lie keeps you tethered to fear and scarcity because you're conditioned to believe that you must constantly strive to accumulate and protect physical things. But once you see beyond this lie, you'll realize that true abundance, love, and spiritual insight come from your connection to higher realms, not from material possessions. We are conditioned to see ourselves as isolated beings, disconnected from others, from nature, and from the universe. This belief feeds the illusion of duality, where we see ourselves as fundamentally separate from the world around us. The me versus them mentality creates conflict, competition, and a deep sense of loneliness. But in truth, everything is interconnected. On a quantum level, everything is energy, and all energy is linked in a vast, universal field. The ancient spiritual wisdom of countless cultures, from Eastern philosophies to indigenous teachings, has long understood this truth. We are not isolated entities, we are expressions of one unified consciousness, all part of the same universal fabric. When you live with the belief in separation, it's easy to feel disconnected from your true power and purpose. You might even think that you need to compete with others for resources or success, but this is a 3D mindset that stems from fear and scarcity. In reality, the universe operates on principles of unity and abundance. When you understand the oneness of all things, you tap into an infinite source of love, wisdom, and guidance. You no longer feel like you're alone or struggling against the current, you realize you are the current. One of the most deeply ingrained lies in our society is the belief that you have to struggle or suffer in order to be worthy. We are taught from an early age that if we aren't working hard, sacrificing, or enduring pain, we don't deserve success, happiness, or love. This mindset is especially prevalent in the modern world, where hard work and hustle culture are glorified. But this belief is a major trap that keeps you in a state of constant striving and dissatisfaction. The idea that you need to earn your worth through struggle keeps you tethered to the third-dimensional illusion that your value is conditional, based on external factors like achievement, money, or status. The truth is, you are inherently worthy. You don't need to suffer or prove your worth to anyone. Your value is not determined by how hard you work or how much you sacrifice. In fact, when you're aligned with your higher self and living in harmony with the universe, things come to you effortlessly. Flow replaces struggle. The more you let go of this need to struggle, the more you open yourself to the natural abundance and love that are your birthright. We're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us that to be happy, we need to be liked, successful, wealthy, or admired by others. Social media, advertising, and cultural norms all reinforce the idea that if you achieve enough external success, you'll finally feel fulfilled. But chasing external validation is like chasing a mirage. It might look real, but it will always leave you feeling empty. True happiness doesn't come from external sources, it comes from within. When you place your happiness in the hands of others, you give your power away. You end up living for the approval of others rather than living in alignment with your authentic self. Spiritual awakening is about realizing that your true source of happiness is already within you. You don't need to seek approval or validation from anyone outside of yourself. When you turn inward and connect with your higher self, you'll find a wellspring of peace, joy, and contentment that can't be shaken by external circumstances. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy external success or relationships, but it means you no longer rely on them for your sense of worth. By letting go of the need for validation, you step into your authentic power and align with the truth of who you are. Fear is one of the most powerful tools used to keep people trapped in the third dimension. We're taught that fear is necessary, that it's what keeps us safe, motivates us, and helps us survive in a dangerous world. From a 3D perspective, fear is often seen as a healthy and essential part of life. But in reality, fear is a low vibrational energy that blocks your spiritual growth. When you live in fear, you close yourself off from love, intuition, and higher consciousness. Fear contracts your energy, keeping you in a survival mode where your focus is limited to protecting yourself from perceived threats. This mindset keeps you stuck in the lower dimensions, where fear-based thinking dominates and limits your potential. The truth is, you don't need fear to survive. Love, not fear, is the true force of growth and expansion. When you let go of fear and align with love, you open yourself to higher states of awareness and begin to thrive rather than merely survive. In a higher state of consciousness, you realize that fear is an illusion created by the ego to maintain control. When you release fear and trust in the universe, you'll find that life flows with greater ease and synchronicity. In the third dimension, we're taught to identify with our thoughts, emotions, achievements, and roles in society. The ego is a construct that thrives on separation and individuality, creating a sense of me that is separate from you. However, this egoic identity is a false self. You are not your ego. You are not the thoughts that pass through your mind, nor are you the roles you play in life. You are a spiritual being, an eternal consciousness temporarily experiencing life in a human form. When you believe that you are your ego, you become attached to your limitations, fears, and desires. You get caught up in the drama of life, believing that you need to protect and defend your sense of self. But when you transcend the ego and realize your true nature, you see that you are infinite, connected to all that is, and capable of far more than your ego would have you believe. The journey of spiritual awakening involves loosening the grip of the ego and stepping into your higher self, the part of you that is eternal, wise, and connected to the divine. This shift allows you to see life from a higher perspective, where you're no longer bound by the limitations of the 3D ego. There is a pervasive belief that spiritual awakening is only for a select few, that it's something reserved for the enlightened, the chosen, or those who are specially gifted. This belief keeps people from even attempting to embark on their spiritual path because they think it's beyond their reach. The truth is, spiritual awakening is available to everyone. It's not reserved for monks, gurus, or spiritual masters. Awakening is a natural process that we all have the capacity to experience. It's not about being special or chosen, it's about being open, curious, and willing to look within. Every soul has the potential to awaken to higher dimensions of consciousness, and that includes you. The process of awakening isn't instant, but with mindfulness, meditation, and a commitment to personal growth, you can begin to raise your consciousness. Each time you let go of a limiting belief or fear-based thought, you step closer to experiencing the freedom, peace, and joy that come with higher dimensional awareness.